welcome to the Falcon View, our first edition of this, and we're here with new Athletics Director Chris Kingston. I am Jason Knavel. We've got quite a few questions that we took from the web, from our fans, and we're going to try to get through as many as we can today, and in the future we'll hit on more of them as we can. So let's talk. You've been here about a month now, Chris. Tell us about your first 30 days.
It was just day 29, so very excited about being here. As excited as I was when I interviewed, and excited as I was at the press conference. I'm very thankful that the amount of questions, the volume of questions that came in, and it just shows the level of interest and enthusiasm that our Falcons have in Bowling Green athletics. So excited about that. I've been getting around to as many teams and staff as I can. It's been, my focus has been trying to understand the things that I may not have known and kind of confirm those things. I spent 2 hours today with a group of our staff in the newly called budget committee. So just trying to figure out where all our revenues are and where all our expenses are, and how can we improve on that and move forward.
Sure. What do you think is the one obstacle, the biggest obstacle at this point of your tenure?
It's really the biggest opportunity, and that's just finding and growing our resources. It's always going to be a challenge for folks, maybe a challenge for most. But I look at it, there's so many tentacles that we have, whether it's our multimedia rights or our apparel, or our ability to grow in the MAC. I mean, we're in a fantastic conference with 17 of our sports, and there are some tremendous opportunities there with revenue generation, whether it's a TV deal or our distributions as the FBS playoff begins and that kind of thing. And then, also in the WCHA. So I think that it's all comes down to opportunities and the resources and how we grow them, how we recognize them. So no one's half the battle. And sitting down with the staff and just really going through where are we able to achieve and overachieve financially and help ourselves. And so it may be a bit of a challenge, but I just look at it as an opportunity and finding those resources and helping ourselves.
Good. A question we got that I don't think a lot of people think about as a role of an athletic director is a recruiter. What kind of role does an athletic director and yourself play in the recruiting process?
So that's a great question. I mean, as the athletic director, I play a role in that process as much as the coaches want me to, and so I always make that a priority. At the end of the day, I always tell the student athletes, without the student athlete, there's no coaches, and without the coaches, there's no administrators, and with no administrator, there's no athletic director. So those student athletes keep me employed. It's because of them I have a job to support my family, and so whatever it is that the coaches need me to do, I'll stop what I'm doing, reorganize my calendar, meet with the recruits, unofficial, official visits, whatever it is, because it's that important to me and to what we do. And I'm just blessed that, if you see the quality of the student athlete around here and what our coaches are doing, who we're recruiting and the support structures to support them, it's fantastic. So I think I can play a big role. I'll play as big as the coaches want me to. I believe in it, and it's that important.
Sure. There's been a lot of conversations before you came on renovations of Dwight Perry Stadium. Is it going to be torn down, start over, whatever? I don't know how much of a handle you have on that right now, but is that something that you're looking ahead to? And when are we going to have any ideas on what might be coming?
Yeah, so there's always, with any venue, when it gets up in age, there's always the question of when do we renovate? Do we blow it up and start all over? What do we do? And so what I do know at this point is that there is a study being commissioned to kind of give us a menu of options with just those types of items. There could be millions of dollars of things in the east and west stands in repair and updates that we'll never see. I know of one that we have to pull out the seats and fix the concrete so we're not leaking below, and those type of things. To all the way up, a menu of options of, redoing or refurbishing the suite areas in the press box. Hopefully we get to the point where we need to put an addition on the south end and go from there. So I'm hoping that the study will help guide us in kind of figuring out what it is that we need to do and what we can do. It's just like I tell the coaches and the teams, my job is to match the resources to the expectations, and our expectations are high, so we have to match those resources. And so we have to identify the resources that are available and then match that to our expectations of what the updates should be.
Sure. So the NCAA, they allow a certain number of scholarships for each sport that we sponsor. Some of our sports might not be fully funded all the way to the limit. What do you think of that? Have you gotten a chance to look at those numbers, and how do we get to the fully funded?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we do look at the scholarships on for example, men's soccer, you get 9.9. So a coach can determine how, if they're fully funded at 9.9, how they use those scholarships. So they can give 9 athletes a full and 1 athlete a 0.9, or they can give a bunch of athletes 0.3 of a scholarship. So that's theirs to figure out, and then the calculation then gets figured out with, is it in-state or out-of-state. So it's not a simple, clear-cut number. So I had my folks run the numbers, and across the board, if we were at a 70% in-state, 30% out-of-state ratio, 70-30 scholarship-wise, how far away are we from being fully scholarshiped? And we're about $1.6 million shy of that number. So that's one of our goals we put on the board. I got a new whiteboard in my office, so I'm pretty excited, is fulfilling that number, and how do we get there. So that's how far away we are that's a rough guess on the number, and so that's a target for us.
Sure. Is the MAC getting good talent across teams and sports still maybe as good as they were getting a few years ago, or whatever?
Yeah, I think you'll see across the MAC. Again, I'm the new guy, but you'll see that there's tremendous talent both in your revenue sports and your Olympic sports. We have some right here, and we have some student athletes doing incredible things both in the classroom and on the field, or in the pool or on the court. And so I think the MAC as a whole, strong conference. I've talked about that before with Dr. Steinbrecher, incredibly smart, strategic thinker. We're lucky to have him, and I think that because of that and our ability as a group of ADs to discuss our scheduling and the way we do things, where we're located in the country, the media markets that surround us, I think we're very attractive to some elite athletes, and I mean, we've got them right here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got a thing I know you want to do, and you tweeted it out actually, I think today, about the Falcon flight line, help and lead the football team out on the field. And actually one of the questions asked led right into that, which was, how do I lead the team out onto the field, or the hockey team out onto the ice? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I've challenged the marketing department here, which is, incredibly talented, to come up with how we're going to do that, and what's going to be the criteria to be on the flight line. And you're going to want to be on the flight line. So it's centered around the students, and we've got some things we've talked about with it, and leading the team out of the tunnel, being on the field. I think it's not necessarily leading the team, but it's you're a part of that team entrance, and I think it's pretty powerful, pretty exciting. I'm excited about it. And then how do we parlay that into hockey? How do we parlay that into basketball? And so just that interaction, that engagement with the students, I'm excited to see it. And you definitely want to be on the Falcon flight line.
Perfect. How do you, we talked a lot about BG now a little bit on a more national scale. There's been lots of talk about how do we pay student athletes more, or do we pay student athletes more? What's your philosophy on that whole stipend, paying student athletes? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a tough one, and you can look at it where the student athletes are there's a scholarship provided and the ability to earn a scholarship, so there's an exchange of sorts there, and then you can look at our level or different levels of collegiate athletics where, but aside from ticket sales, certain sports in collegiate athletics really do earn revenue for the institution, and the question is, should they be rewarded for that. So I've been a part of a number of discussions and been in the opportunity to sit in the room during a number of discussions about that exact topic. And so it's it's easier. It's more of a discussion than a clear-cut answer. You can see how you can understand why a student athlete whose jersey sold in the store, would say, hey, I'm not getting a piece of that, and once I'm in the league or whatever it is, that I would. And so there's a great discussion about that. It creates some haves and have-nots, and there's great discussion about this very fundamental philosophy right now within the NCAA, specifically in the BCS conferences. So I think more to follow on where that ends up going, and it's you just have to remember at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is ensure that each student athlete has a first-class experience here at BG and their collegiate experience as an athlete. And so I don't ever want to disrupt that and just enhance it.
Great. I think that's all for today. We've hit a lot of topics, and it's great to have you the first time here, the first Falcon View. Moving forward, we'll probably try to get some other people in here maybe at times. We'll have you certainly regularly as well, Chris. And thanks, and roll along.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jason.